Hello everyone and welcome to my TF2 Beginner Core tutorial, where today we are going to explore the core of TF2 for beginners. We will explore the main concepts of the game that you will constantly be exposed to and understand what they mean and how to use them. When you enter a match, by default you strafe by pressing the W, A, S, and D keys. You jump with space and crouch with control. You will look around and aim using the mouse. For almost all weapons, you will attack using the left mouse button and use the right mouse button for an alternative action. Team Fortress 2 is considered a slower movement shooter. What this means is that the movement is an important mechanic to combat. Moving in the game is not just for getting you to your destination, but it's also for dodging and to get in a better position against your opponent, otherwise known as positioning. However, one thing that does separate TF2 from a movement shooter is that there's some weight to your movement. Switching directions when strafing does cause slight slowdown, which prevents jittery and unpredictable movement. Because TF2 is not a tactical shooter where the action is slow with different forms of positioning and movement, TF2's mechanics are simplified. You will always either be running or crouch walking. All your steps make a sound. Since the focus during combat is dodging and shooting at the same time, there is no sprint mechanic. To continue to promote this form of movement mechanics, there is no speed penalty when jumping. However, gaining speed by bunny hopping is not possible. Even so, bunny hopping is an important advanced mechanic that must be discussed in the future. Jumping itself is also important, and crouch jumping is the earliest technique a new player must learn. Every player in every class has a collision box that is used to determine if a player is colliding with anything, like a wall or an enemy player, to prevent them from passing through. A player's collision box is 2 cubes high and 1 cube wide when standing. When crouching, your collision box is only 1 cube high. Because the collision box is smaller, it allows a player to fit into smaller spaces when crouching. With many platforms, the standing collision box is too big to allow a player to get on top of it because it is too tall and the bottom cube blocks the player. However, when jumping is combined with crouching, the collision box shrinks to the top cube, allowing a player to get on top of slightly higher platforms. This is a crouch jump, and it's performed by holding the direction the key to the platform is, and then jumping and holding crouch. The shooting mechanics of TF2 differ from many other first-person shooters. Accuracy is consistent throughout all weapons, as to continue promoting the movement shooter idea. In fact, weapons like the rocket launcher and the sniper rifle are 100% accurate, even when moving. While some weapons have a weapon spread like shotguns and pistols, the spread is not affected by the movement. Recoil is non-existent in the game. While there is a noticeable kickback on the screen and the recoil in the animation when shooting a weapon, it's just for cosmetic reasons, and have no effect on your accuracy. Fall-off is the decrease of damage based on how far the enemy is. When shooting players normally, your damage will decrease gradually, though this depends on the weapon itself. Critical hits are damage boosts that are signified by an electric crackle and red or blue lightning. There are two different types, crits and mini-crits. Crits deal 300% damage, while mini-crits deal an added 35% of damage to the regular damage. Both crits and mini-crits are not affected by fall-off and deal full damage. The sounds that you hear in the game are an important part of the gameplay. Since TF2 is built on the source engine, TF2 has positional audio, where you hear where on the map the audio is made, like gunshots and voice lines. This allows you to know where the enemy is and makes you aware of your own sound. In this clip, the enemy team's medic is killed by one of my teammates. Because of this, I have become an important target for the enemy team to kill. And then I hear a soldier's pain sound and know exactly where they are. Because of this, I prepare for the attack and hide inside the house, so that way it's harder to get to me. Surely enough, one of the soldiers tries to kill me. However, because I was already in the house, I am protected, and he is instead eliminated by one of my scouts. Sound cues are bits of audio that give important information. Important examples include spies uncloak, the crackling of a medic's full Uber, and the objective capture sounds. Character voice lines are not only for world building, but are incredibly useful in sending information, such as with calling for a medic or calling out a spy. Here's how to play the most important commands in the game. By default, the audio keys are set for Z for assertive lines, X for authoritative lines, and C for reactionary lines. Here's a full list on the screen, but let's go over the most important ones. Press Z+1 in order to call out for a medic. Alternatively, you can also do this by default by pressing E. Press Z+2 in order to say thanks. Press X+1 to warn of an incoming attack. Press X+2 in order to say that there is a spy. Looking at someone specifically while doing so will make your character say,
"That sniper is a spy!"
Press X+7 to tell your medic to pop or activate their Uber charge, which will be talked about in the medic tutorial. X+8 is specifically for the medic and is meant to tell your team that you have an uber charge, even when it's not full. This can be used to fake an uber charge push to the enemy team, making them retreat. And of course, C+7 to tell someone they hit a good shot. The heads-up display, or HUD, tells you constant information that is important to know at all times. On the bottom left will be your health meter. The maximum amount of health you have depends on the class. When taking damage, your health meter will empty. You will know that you are at full health when your meter is completely filled. When in low health, your health bar will be red instead of gray. Overheal is when your current health surpasses the maximum amount of health for your class. In TF2, this mostly occurs when your medic heals you after your health reaches 100%. Overheal is not forever, however, and will gradually decrease over time. On the bottom right will be your ammunition count, or ammo. The big number is the amount of ammo you have in your clip. While your clip is empty, you will have to reload by taking ammo from your reserve, which is the smaller number, and tells you how much total ammo you have outside of your clip. This will have a maximum depending on your weapon. The top right will be your kill feed, or the telling of who has been killed by whom in your match recently. Your kills and deaths will be highlighted for you. It will also show captured objectives and other information. On the very top will be the current players on the server. Players who are grayed out are those who have died. The number below them is the amount of time before they respawn. You will not be able to see the classes of the enemy team or the amount of time before they respawn in order to keep things fair. Neither will the enemy team know about yours. On the bottom screen will be the information about the objective. Depending on the game mode, it will be different, such as with payload showing how far the cart is, capture the flag showing where the briefcase is, and control points showing the control points owned by each team. Team Fortress 2 features 9 different playable characters or classes. The game differentiates them with attack classes, defense classes, and support classes. However, for the purpose of explaining better their playstyle, I will redefine the categories to help you understand better. Soldier, Pyro, Demo, and Heavy are tank or damage classes. Scout, Sniper, and Spy are pick classes. Medic and Engineer are support classes. The main design of the classes are so that each class counters one another, but in a softer way. A Pyro is not always going to dominate a Spy, as well as a Heavy will dominate a Scout, but they are counters to one another. As such, conflicts are usually determined by skill a bit more than just a rock, paper, scissors gameplay. Since classes are much more nuanced than what they appear, especially with the amount of weapons there are, each class has different playstyles, though they are not the same in effectiveness based on situation. For the rest of the beginner tutorial, I will only cover the default weapons and the class's general playstyle. There are a variety of weapons available in the game for every single class and every single weapon slot. Most classes consist of 3 main weapon types: a primary, mainly for damage output, a secondary as a backup, and a melee weapon as a high-risk, high-damage option against players who get too close. The design of Team Fortress is different from many games. What they attempt to do with the weapons is to avoid upgrades. They want all weapons to be side grades. For most classes, the stock weapons are statistically the best weapons in the game since they are straightforward and have no downsides. They are for general use and not for a specific situation, which many other weapons are designed for. For example, the direct hit for the soldier has higher damage and faster rockets compared to the rocket launcher, but only for direct hits. So while it might kill a single player faster than the rocket launcher, the more accuracy required can be much more of a downside compared to other rocket launchers, which will deal consistent damage without the need to directly hit someone. If you find a weapon or unlock one through achievements, you can switch to this new weapon by going to your main menu, clicking items, and then clicking the class in order to change their weapon. You can also open this menu by hitting the M key when you're playing that class in-game by default. You can then click the weapon you want to change, which will show all of your weapons available. You can also pick up weapons from the ground dropped by other players by getting close, looking at it, and then hitting the H key by default. You can also rent weapons once a week from the Manco store. You do this by searching it up in the Manco store. Once you click on it, there should be a button that says try it out. This will give you the item for 1 week. It is not tradable and it is not craftable. There are 6 primary game modes in TF2. Payload is the game mode where blue team must push a cart to the goal while the red team prevents it. The more players are on the cart, the faster the cart moves, with each player contributing 1 speed point to the cart up to 3 times its speed. It only takes 1 red player to stop the cart. If no one in blue team has been pushing the cart for a while, then the cart will go backwards, although red team does not control the speed. If the cart reaches the goal, blue wins. If the timer runs out, red wins. If the cart is not going backwards when the timer runs out, then the match will go into overtime, and if blue doesn't push the cart in 5 seconds, then red wins. As long as blue pushes the cart in that time, the match will continue in overtime. Payload Race follows the same rules, except it's with the cart for each team, and whoever reaches the goal first wins. Attack Defense consists of the blue team that needs to push back the red team in order to capture the control points. Each control point will have to be captured one by one in order. The other points will be locked. Once a point is captured, red team cannot capture that point back. In order to capture the control point, a blue team member must stay on the control point, with each blue player on the point multiplying the speed at which the point is captured. It only takes one red player to stop the capture. If all the points are captured by blue, then blue wins. If the timer runs out, then red wins. If by the end of the timer, the point is being captured, then the match will go into overtime, where red must keep blue off the point until the current capture fades. Control points follow the same rule, however, with a couple of changes. There are 5 control points on the map. Both teams will have to fight to capture all the control points. In the beginning of the game, only the middle one will be available to capture. Once it is captured, one team will have to push back the enemy team in order to capture all the points to win. Just like with attack and defend, only the next point will be available to capture. However, the losing team can recapture the point the winning team just captured. If the time runs out, the game ends in a stalemate where neither team wins. King of the Hill only features one control point to capture. In the start of the round, both teams will have to fight for the first capture. Once a team captures the point, they must defend the point until their timer runs out. The enemy team can capture the point at any time so that their timer runs out. If a timer is at the end and the opposing team has captured some of the point, the match will go into overtime. The first team to have their timer run out wins. Capture the Flag consists of a base for each team. Within it is a briefcase. Each team has to attack each other's base to retrieve the briefcase and take it to their base. Once a team retrieves the briefcase, the winning team will be given a point and temporary critical hits. If a person holding a briefcase dies, then the briefcase is dropped on the floor, where the timer will begin. If the timer reaches 0, then the briefcase is returned to the base. If a player picks up the briefcase, then the timer resets. First team to 3 points wins.